Well, if you couldn't tell by the trailers, this is very much a bromance movie. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with it being a bromance movie. I say that because it's so obvious as you watch this film. So basically, the synopsis is that Nicolas Cage is playing Nicolas Cage, and he gets invited to the birthday party. Oh, why the heck am I wearing this? I don't need to be wearing this. This is not the first time I've done that. Okay. So he gets invited to the birthday party of this rich Spanish, whatever rich dude. Well, some Spanish-speaking guy. I can't even remember the country it's supposed to be. That guy right there, played by Pedro Pascal. And he accepts the job because he's kind of down on his luck a bit. You know, Nick Cage has had this history of not starring in the best films. He pretty much would take just about any role that was offered to him. Consequently, his career suffered a bit as a result. A lot of his movies were like the direct-to-video type and just terrible. And as far as the story goes, Nick always put so much effort into the roles that he played. He would sometimes go so overboard that he just developed this reputation. And I think there was an article that mentioned recently, or where he mentioned that, you know, he never kind of slacked off in the roles that he played. He always gave it his all. And that seemed really obvious. He did always seem like he was putting a lot of effort into the movies. He was like more so than maybe the people around him were. Anyway, so one cool thing about this film is that there are a lot of references to Nicolas Cage's past movies. There's one particular reference that I admit, well, maybe two, that went over my head because I don't think I've seen those movies. The one is where you see in the trailer, he's talking to a character from one of his other movies. Like he has these conversations in his mind with this guy. And it's a younger guy. He's got a leather jacket. They did pretty good de-aging on him. Some parts you could tell it was not the best, but anyway, it was decent. And it's the scene in the trailer when he goes, "You're Nick fucking Cage." Whoever that character was in Nicolas Cage's acting past, he has conversations with this guy in his head. They're pretty funny. So you have references to things like that. There's also another character that I was not familiar with, and that was in the trailer. You see him with he's got these two guns. Honestly, he looks like John Wick with the guns. Didn't really, not facially. And Nick Cage offers him $20,000 to buy the awful looking statue of him. I don't know who that guy was, but I recognized the other references to the different movies he's been in, and there was also a cool cameo with a director that many of us know. I mean, I only recognized him because he directed a movie that I really enjoyed. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to put all these different spoilers in there. So that's kind of cool. And a lot of that comes into play in the movie as it goes along. Hey, Chivy, come here.
Oh, that's what she's
I'm filming.
so
I'm
anxious about.
I'm filming
She
a.
wanted to come downstairs so bad, and I have no idea why. She's getting separation anxiety.
Oh.
She was she kept trying to get my attention. She was getting nervous. She was whining, so I was brought her downstairs.
Come on.
She was when I put her down, and then she started going crazy.
Oh my goodness gracious, little girl! I'm filming a review. What was I saying when you came in?
She is.
Aww.
Getting separation.
She does this when your dad comes home too. She gets all excited when she knows he's here. She starts going in circles all over the place. Okay, what was I saying? What was I saying? What the heck was I saying when you walked in when this little monkey ran in? Grab my coffee. Maybe my coffee will remind me. I don't know. I don't want it to get cold. I think it was saying that a lot of those aspects of his different movies, they kind of come into play at different points. And one thing that's fun about this film, if I didn't say it already, I can't, maybe I did, I don't know, whatever, is that it pokes fun at his movie choices, makes these little references about that. And that that didn't last long. Okay. And Nicholas is obviously very aware of that sort of thing because that goes into the story. The story itself, the movie itself, is very self-aware. That's the repetitive use of the word self. But anyway, it's very self-aware. And you can't really take it too seriously. There's some action stuff that goes into it. But honestly, at the heart of it, this is a buddy film, bromance, like I said, and it kind of like the stuff that they're talking about, and they talk about making movies and good stories. It's sort of like a parallel story to what's really going on in the movie itself, and that was kind of cool how they built up to, you know, the Act 1 and Act 2, and then they built up to this Act 3 that you know is happening, and how they're referencing that when they're talking. So that was kind of cool. And then the comedy aspect of it, and there's a scene in there, so funny. Several people were laughing out loud during this film. This wasn't as hilarious as, let's say, Everything Everywhere All at Once. There weren't as many laugh out loud moments, but there were certainly quite a few. A lot of them had to do with the interaction between Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal. They had great chemistry together. The movie was the most fun when they were together, when they were interacting. I've seen this mentioned before by other reviewers, and that is absolutely the case, that they created great screen presence with both of them. One of the funniest scenes in the whole film was when, okay, this isn't super spoilery, but it is. It doesn't really spoil much of anything, and you did see bits of this in the trailer. But they go on this acid trip together. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. It explains some of the silliness of the trailers, like certain things that happen in the trailers. Like, okay, that's like really crazy. It's funny, but it's crazy. Well, this completely explains it. It's silly. Doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, it's not dumb comedy, and it was just a fun ride. It's certainly something that I am glad I saw on the big screen. Some of the shots in here were gorgeous. The wide angle shots of certain scenery and stuff, that was just, it was beautiful. And but it was just a fun ride, and I wouldn't mind watching this again. I think actually my husband would be interested to check this out. He likes Nick Cage. One of his favorite Nick Cage movies is Trapped in Paradise. He watches that movie so many times. But anyway, yeah, so con territory stuff, it's not really huge in the con territory. So I think maybe if I had to pick a con about the movie itself, come here. If I had to pick a con about the movie itself, and this really, I don't think, in all fairness, classifies as a con, would just be the suspension of disbelief that you have to have. Some of the stuff that goes on in here, the shenanigans that go on in here, obviously it's like there is no way, but you're not supposed to take it seriously. It's just a crazy, almost slapsticky sort of comedy. Not a dumb comedy. It's not like a Dumb and Dumber. So that's one of the reasons why I really liked it. And it had that, like I said, action, and it had the buddy stuff, which was really fun. I do personally feel like, so the first trailer I watched, I just could tell it was Nick Cage was playing Nick Cage, and he was invited to this rich guy's place for his birthday party because he's a super fan. But then the subsequent trailer that came out, I really wish I hadn't seen it, because I went into it knowing what the entire synopsis was supposed to be. And I wish that I hadn't known that. Basically, in that second trailer, it indicates that the CIA enlists Nick Cage to do undercover type work for them, because Javi, this guy that wanted him to come out to his place, was this big bad drug lord dude. And so, you know, that, you know, going in, So you basically know a lot of the plot device that's driving this film. Not that I didn't like that. I thought it was fun. It's kind of what kept the story moving. It's also what kept him there on the island, or not the island, but at the guy's estate once things, you know, started to happen. So that was fine, but I just wish they had held that part back a little bit. I don't know. It's just me. Maybe I'm overreacting. But other than that, it's not really a, you know, a huge deal. There were some things that I guessed as far as what was really going on. It's not a huge major twist, but it's kind of something you can easily piece together just watching the trailer, or as you watch the movie and you get to know the characters more, you figure things out. And so when it comes to light, it's like, oh, okay, well, I get it. It was obvious. But in general, this is a really fun film. I know that the official critics have rated it just, they've skyrocketed. The ratings are super high, 95 something percent. I would definitely not give it that high of a rating, but that's not really a knock on the film. I mean, I rate movies super, super high based on a completely different sort of standard than, you know, movie critics do. But it is a fun ride. It's worth the watch. If you're a Nick Cage fan, you're definitely going to enjoy it. I don't see how you couldn't. I like Nick Cage. Even if he's in something horrible, I still like to watch him because he's just fun. There's something about the guy I've always liked ever since I first saw him, and I think it was called Blue Boy back in the 80s. I think that was the very first movie I noticed him as an actor. Never forgot him since then. And yeah, so that's my take on The Unbearable Weight of Massive... I always have to think about the title because it's so long. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's currently in movie theaters, and if you get a chance, go check it out and let me know what you think. That's it for this one, you guys. Adios.